Say his name and he appears. I believe in Joe Hendry.
The prestigious one, Joe Hendry, and you are listening / watching Perched on the Top Rope.
Tokyo, America, Scotland, and Canada, and Mexico. They say, I believe in Joe Hendry. I believe in Joe Hendry.
Welcome everyone to Perched on the Top Rope. It's me. It's the Long Island Ice Lee. And as you can tell from that show opener, we have from Ring of Honor, Joe Hendry. Joe, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. How are you?
I'm doing great during these tough times, but we'll all get through it and persevere in the end.
Who's that in the green tights there?
Oh, so this is my Hasbro bar. This is where I like to do my interviews. Marty and HBK.
I had to know.
Yeah, this one's my tag team ring with all the tag teams. And then the other ring is a mix of tag team and single competitors.
Like it.
It's all broken up by single competitors in the yellow ring. Demolition, Andre, Warlord, Berserker, Hogan, Duggan, Warrior, Macho Man, Perfect, Undertaker, and then I've got some of in this far corner, the retros.
I like it.
Thank
Let's
you.
Try and get to a point where you can get Joe Hendry in there.
I know a lot about your amateur wrestling background, being a collegiate wrestler myself. Did being an amateur wrestler play any part of you wanting to get into professional wrestling?
So the funny thing is, I did it the other way around. So I started pro wrestling at the age of 24, about to turn 25, and I started amateur wrestling at 27.
Oh yeah, you totally went the other way because I started as a little tyke, but so you start pro wrestling first. So then what was it that made you want to get into amateur wrestling?
Because I was getting frustrated that I was losing all the time, and I wanted to prove to everybody that I could beat everyone else up. And then so I went and beat everybody else up.
Okay. Fair enough right there. So
I think people were starting to see me as a one-dimensional entrance guy, and then I was like, no, I need to remind. I thought to myself, look, when kids are in the playground and they'd say things like, oh, this guy could batter that guy, when they're like, who would win out of Batman and Superman? What the kids have those discussions, and when it comes to pro wrestling, they all go, yeah, but Brock Lesnar could batter them all. Kurt Angle could batter them all. That's a Scottish word for beat someone up. And then I thought, I want them to say Joe Hendry can batter everybody. So that's why I had to go and do what I did in amateur wrestling. And now that's what they say.
Yeah, and during your amateur wrestling career, I mean, you've won national championships and stuff. Like you down like in Australia, you were part of a big open tournament, and I mean, for someone starting that late, especially facing some of the names that you faced in the amateur wrestling world, is honestly, it's mind-boggling. And someone who had 20 some odd years in amateur wrestling experience, kudos to you, man.
Thank you. You want to hear something crazy?
Yeah.
So I won a couple of British championships, and I went for the Commonwealth Games, which is like one down from the Olympics. It's just we take out all the best nations, so we've got a chance at winning. And so that's that I tried to do. So here's the thing. Here's the crazy thing. Do you watch UFC at all?
Oh yeah.
So at the time, Robert Whittaker was UFC middleweight champion, and he qualified for wrestling in the Commonwealth Games in 97 kilograms, which was my weight class. Australia versus Scotland was drawn, and I was supposed to face Robert Whittaker. And look, I don't want to say that he was afraid of the prestigious one, but hey, look, you either show up or you don't, and he didn't show up. What happened that match after that, or that's all immaterial. All you need to know is Robert Whittaker wanted none of Joe Hendry. That's all you need to know.
Wow. That's incredible. So when did you start watching pro wrestling? Like, were you a little tyke or teenager?
I saw it. I saw it at like my cousin's house a few times when I was younger, and really I got into it through the video games. I enjoyed playing the video games, and then I saw it on TV a few times. It wasn't until I was about 14 or 15 that I started becoming obsessed with it and decided that's what I wanted to do.
Oh wow! All right. Was there anyone in particular that you liked watching that you really take a liking to, or?
So my favorite wrestler. So at the start, I'd say my two favorites were The Rock and Chris Jericho. Then the more I watched it, I liked Kurt Angle. And then when I really got into it, Ric Flair became my favorite in ring. So those are my favorite wrestlers right there.
All right. And speaking of Kurt Angle, prior to Ring of Honor, you wrestled a lot of legends, from Christopher Daniels, Kurt Angle, as you mentioned, being one of your favorites, Will Ospreay, Marty Scurll, Jack Swagger, Cody Rhodes. But to be honest, the list goes on and on. So, knowing Kurt Angle was one of your favorites, what was it like to step in the ring with him?
It was. There's few moments in your career where this is the thing that people maybe don't understand unless they've done wrestling or something like this. Mm-hmm. There will be a few moments in your career where you'll take a second and go, what? And it's usually when, like, so for example, if you are, when you're driving fast or you're going like 60 miles an hour or whatever, it doesn't feel fast. But the acceleration feels fast. You feel the acceleration, not the speed. So, and I think it's the same thing with your career. So if you're used to main eventing and stuff like that, then it doesn't give you that same buzz. Whereas if you've gone from here and then all of a sudden you're facing Kurt Angle in the main event of a pay-per-view with Jim Ross and Jim Cornette commentating, it makes your head explode. And I'm grateful for that, because I got that really early on. I was pretty green when I got that opportunity, and I'm grateful it was at that point in my career, because it really gave me that moment of, wow, I've really done something here. This is amazing. My family are sitting in the balcony. They're watching me wrestle, one of my absolute favorite wrestlers. It just felt like it was one of these things, like it. I had a really active part in making it happen. It was myself and Kurt that were really put the match together, like when it came to making it happen. So it just started with like a couple of DMs back and forth. And I thought, you know what, why not? Like, a fan asked me, who's your dream match? And I said, if it was a program, like, there was like building to a pay-per-view, I'd go for The Rock. But if it was a one-off match, one time, it would be Kurt Angle. And I tagged him, and I just thought, why not? And he DM'd me straight away. And he was like, listen, I know who you are. You're not ready yet, but keep working hard. And if you are ready one day, then I'll maybe we can make the match happen. I was like, wow. So, obviously at that point you're like, what were the odds of him being a free agent at the time that I would kind of be mature enough as a wrestler to take an opportunity like that? But it happened. As I was with What Culture at the time, I said to Kurt, I was like, listen, I actually have a company that I think could, financially, that could execute this match if you'd still be interested. And at that point, when we first started discussing it, it was like a 1% chance of it happening. And the ballsiest thing I've ever done, I went into the What Culture office, walked into the office with two owners, and I said, you guys tried to book Kurt Angle, didn't you? And then they were like, yeah, but it didn't happen, or blah, blah. I was like, what if I could get him? And they were like, well, yeah, would you book him? And they were like, yeah, absolutely. And I was like, all right, but here's the thing. If I bring him in, I need your word right now that it's me that's wrestling him. And they were like, all right, you get him. You're wrestling him. And actually, around that time, again, I was only 3 years in the business. And when I say 3 years, I started training in 2013. So that's not even on shows, training. So I was 2 years on shows, basically, when I wrestled Kurt Angle, or just over that. I can't remember exactly, but, to the month. But actually, I think when I wrestled Kurt, it was the 3rd year anniversary of my debut, which is very early to be doing something like that. So I think there was, a little bit of resentment. I think I was quite green in some aspects. So I had a couple of really not great performances in the run up to that match with Kurt. And I actually thought danger of losing the match. And, I've later been told that I was. But thankfully, I don't know what happened, but everything just came together that night. I did exactly what I needed to do. And in my mind, I felt I delivered the best performance that I could have, 3 years in, Joe Hendry. And I look back at that and go, that was a good match. And you can watch it on YouTube for free. And I'm like, for being 3 years in, I was happy with that. I was happy with what I delivered. And I feel like for me, there was before Kurt and there was after Kurt. When I wrestled Kurt, people don't know what intensity means until you've wrestled somebody like that. Then I got it. It was like, I've been going half speed. Not speed, but like I've been going half intensity. And then you wrestle him and he is just, again, he makes you believe it's real.
I've watched the match, phenomenal. And to be honest, like I knew you started in 2013. I didn't, it didn't look like it was someone who's only been wrestling 3 years in a match.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And speaking of that, you being so green for that match. After the match, did you ever ask him for any advice or his thoughts on how the match went or anything?
Absolutely. Like, what I've found in this business is people at the very top tend to be the most giving with information and helping, because they want they want the business to thrive and survive, but they also want other people to get to their level so they have people to work with, and with obviously Kurt, that was coming towards the latter stages of his career. So from his perspective, I think he just wanted to help me, he wanted to help me out. And, not only did he give me tons of advice, both that day and after that day, but he also, took the time to say hello to my family. And, that meant a lot to me as well. Kurt is one of the most genuine, like, selfless workers. His goal that day was to help elevate my career, to the point where actually a few months later he did another show for What Culture where he wrestled Cody Rhodes, and that's all he was obligated to do, was to wrestle Cody Rhodes. However, he did a whole segment with me afterwards. This is where I decided to go to the dark side, and we did this whole thing, and then I kind of hit him in the nuts, did the angle slam, and again there was no obligation on his part to do anything like that. So it was he is a classy individual, and I owe a lot of what I'm doing to him giving me that boost in my career at the time.
Speaking of your career, you've had some amazing trainers. You had Marty Jones, Killian Dane, as everyone knows him in NXT now, Mikey Whiplash, and the legendary Robbie Brookside. What was it like to have those trainers training you, knowing their background in pro wrestling?
I think, I was having a conversation kind of about this sort of stuff earlier today, and it was just thinking like it was just the perfect storm. I mean, again, I genuinely believe that you make your own luck. And I think that in our lives, there are things that happen every single day that we could capitalize on that would take us to the next level. But, and all of us do this, myself included, we let those opportunities pass us by. But something happened to me in 2013 where I was just like, I was hungry. Like, I didn't have a choice. I didn't have a, when I first started wrestling, I think I didn't have a job at the time. And I was literally, I don't recommend this, but I was like doing it on a credit card. There was no plan of how this was going to be paid off or anything like that. But I went through to train. I lived in Edinburgh, going through to Glasgow every day to train. And again, but I remember when I started training, I eventually did get a job. So I'd been there like maybe a month or 2 months or something like that. And so I got a job and I was like, okay, so now I can kind of, fund what I'm doing. But I still had this credit card I had to pay off and all that. And I remember Robbie Brookside was going to be in Glasgow training at the school. And he was going to be there 7 days from 10 in the morning until 10 at night or whatever it was. It was like 12-hour days just in the ring. And some days it was literally like you say, there'd be three of us. It would be, and I remember there was even one day where other than the coaches, it was like me and Nikki Storm in the ring. You know what I mean? That was it. Yeah. Like there was like, whereas but the people that were there the most, it was like there was me and Nikki Storm and Viper and Killian Dane and like the coaches you mentioned as well. But it was a small group, and I remember thinking that I owe so much of what I've done to that because I was able to build up my fundamentals so quick that because I had Robbie Brookside, who I think is probably, one of the best coaches that I've ever had, or the best coach that I've ever had at anything in my life, in anything that I've done. He just has a way of explaining things. He has a way about showing his passion and care and attention to detail and demanding more from you. You know what I mean? Not taking it easy on you, demanding more and demanding the highest standard of quality. And so he was up there. This was just as he got signed. And then he did it again for another week. So when I was a couple of months in, I had, almost hundreds of hours with almost one-on-one time with Robbie Brookside at that, 2 months into my career. So I think that really helped me, elevate quickly.
Yeah. Again, Robbie is hands down.
What I will say as well is like, I just get focused on Robbie there, but I am grateful to all the coaches that I had at Source and what I got there. They did a lot for me, all the coaches you mentioned.
Yeah. I mean, all those coaches they're phenomenal coaches. And I remember when I looked at the training list, I saw the names and I was just like, wow, you almost couldn't have a better training team to work with than that.
Everybody brought something different as well,
Yeah.
It was they all brought. I mean, even like I don't. So obviously, like you mentioned, Killian Dane and Marty Jones would often come up, and Micah Whiplash was there. But I think I almost kind of have to list Nikki Storm as a trainer as well, like somewhat unofficially, because we were training together, but she had so much more experience than me that even just being around her and listening to her and training with her, I almost feel like she was a coach as well. It just wasn't like official.
Yeah. And in those 3 short years, from 2013 to 2016, you traveled all over the UK, wrestling and promotions like ICW, WCPW, NGW. You wrestled all over Canada. And in 2016, in the UK, you actually made a couple of appearances in Ring of Honor, taking on the likes of Donovan Dijak and Jay White. How did that all happen for you, and what was it like having those 2 matches?
So I flew myself over to a Ring of Honor tryout because, again, I wasn't satisfied with how it was being used. I felt like I could be a star, and I didn't feel, this is kind of pre WCPW. Like I felt like, I'd really done something with my entrances, but and again, this is, if people think that they can, if they can do something better, then, start your own wrestling promotion. So it's like, I never kind of I try not to criticize promotions like that I worked for early on for booking decisions, because it was pretty green at the time. So, I'd say that was probably the drawback there. But I did feel like I'd got myself over with my entrances, and I felt like I needed to get my teeth stuck into something else. But it was actually just before Kurt. It was before WCPW, and I thought, this is what I need to do. I flew myself over to do a Ring of Honor tryout in 2016. It went. And then I got invited to do the UK tour, and like you say, I wrestled Donovan Dijak and Jay White, and it was a tough experience for me. It was hard to, it was a shock. No, not a shock, but I think it was just like, it was a lot. Like it was probably good for me to be thrown in at the deep end to realize there was still work that needed to be done. So I felt like I was a step behind at that point. And it took me, I knew it was going to be a longer road to get to Ring of Honor, but I knew that that's where I needed to go. As soon as I saw the barriers when I walked down, I was like, this is where I need to be. So really, the next few years, I did a couple more shows for them. I wrestled Silas for the TV title in Edinburgh. That just went awesome. And then I had a few more tours, a few more shows and stuff like that. And I'm glad I was able to finally make it happen, because that's where I wanted to go. My gut just told me that was where I needed to go. When I was at the tryout, but I'll never forget walking down the ramp for the first time and seeing the Ring of Honor barriers. The barrier covers they've got, hearing the fans bang on them. This is something's telling me I've got to be here.
Yeah.
My students, I say, look, just if you go for something that doesn't happen the first time, then that's okay. Just keep trying, keep working at it. And that's the thing. It took me 3 years to get signed to Ring of Honor, but it was worth it. It was worth every second.
Yeah. And one of the things that you talk about are your entrances. And fans, if you haven't seen any of Joe's entrances, look him up on YouTube, because your entrances are really cool that you've done. Like, I'm just going to give a few examples. Like, as a face, using parodies that of music that you've used against James Kennedy. You did the whole Phil Collins in the Air Tonight thing.
I think that's the thing. You always got to keep it genuine. When it's a case of you're doing it for the sake of doing it, that's when they start to suffer. You got to do it because it makes you laugh. If you're not laughing, then it's just not worth doing it. The one problem is, I will say, and I've learned this about all creative endeavors, whatever it is that you do, you have to get in and get out. It's a race against time. The more time that you spend doing something, I feel, the worse your perspective is going to be. So if you're going to do like an entrance or something, or if you're in wrestling or you're in music or whatever creative thing that it is that you do, keep the idea fresh, keep it fun, get in, execute, and get out, and then move on to the next idea. Because there's nothing worse than having to labor over the same thing. Like, no joke's funny 100 times, so it's like, but if you edit it, you're going to have to see that almost 100 times. So you got to know it's funny before you go into that edit process. So that's why a lot of them, I would honestly, there was an ICW and I needed an entrance that day, and I went to I knew someone who had a microphone and all that at the time. Drove to his house, recorded the vocals, came back, did it on my laptop, filmed a few bits and bobs. I said to a graphic designer, could you make this little thing for me, blah blah, and I pieced it together start to finish in 3 hours, and it's one of the best ones that I've done. It was the one on the Wee Man where it's like got Eminem in the thumbnail. That was that's one of the best ones I've done. It took me 3 hours start to finish, from thinking about it to having it delivered. That's the fastest one I've ever done. I to this day don't know how I did it, but that's one of the best ones. The ones that have taken me super long to do tend not to be ones that really get over,
Speaking of this music, on your YouTube page, fans, it's Joe Hendry. You can go check it out. You have some parodies that you've been doing, like there was a song about your love of McDonald's. There was another one that I really got a kick out of, was the parody of Aerosmith.
Yeah.
You got to have something to do during these times of quarantine, and I've watched the videos and they're hilarious. What's the thought process of those videos as opposed to the thought process of doing an entrance for a match?
It's tough. It is tough. At the time, I was thinking, look, I haven't been in Ring of Honor long, but I want to prove that I can keep myself over. I can be over, and I can be a draw, and I can shift merch, and I can bring eyes to the product, and I can bring something to the table. Because this is what people don't understand. Like, Ring of Honor have gone above and beyond to take care of the roster. Like, I just can't even put into words how well they're taking care of the roster and I feel super, super grateful for what they're doing to take care of us. That I was like, I need to create some buzz. I need to do something. I need to keep active. I need to keep myself over, because, like, to me, this business is built on stars, and it's like you need to do whatever you need to do to bring star power to the table. It's a weird thing, because it's like, in some ways, it's like almost selfish, because it's like, like, I want to do as much as I can for the company. But actually, the best thing I can do for the company is make myself the biggest star that I can. So when I can get back to shows, I can, bring something to the table. And I feel like that's how everyone should be thinking. Because, like, to me, that's how the business is run, on that star power. So it really came from, like, one, like, I need to keep myself relevant and valuable to Ring of Honor, because they're looking after me. I need to do what I need to do to, and we all do as a roster. We need to do what we need to do to bring home the bacon for Ring of Honor. But on the other hand, it was a case of, like, I wanted to give people a bit of a laugh during lockdown, because it's weird, this very society that we've ended up in.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those out there who don't know, when the pandemic first hit, Ring of Honor was paying all the talent for all their dates that were booked. I don't know how much of fans know about that. But that's incredible for a company to do, where other companies let go of 40 people. Other companies are still running shows with no crowds, and and you watch the ratings, and they're not, some are doing okay, some aren't doing okay, but Ring of Honor has gone above and beyond to take care of their talents. So fans, like, when he's saying that, being taken care of, all the shows that you guys were booked for, Ring of Honor has paid you all along, no matter what.
Well, like, it's gone beyond that. Like, I mean, I'm now being taken care of beyond what I was booked for. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's like I've been with Ring of Honor for I've been signed for, it was just over a year now. It's like a year and 2 weeks or something like that. So Ring of Honor have actually gone beyond their obligation to me, you know? So it's like they've just, I never BS my fans or anything like that. I'll just say it as it is. I'm not a fake person, but I will tell you, so what I'm saying is legit. Like Ring of
Yeah.
Honor have gone above and beyond. They're putting safety first. They're looking after everybody, and I miss everybody. It's a family environment that we've got, and we just want to put on the best wrestling product in the world. That's the goal, and it's a really tough, difficult situation that we're in. But I love the fact that Ring of Honor have got our back. It's a family I'm glad to be a part of.
Yeah, and that's awesome. And you say you've been signed a little over a year. It was the 8th of August in 2019 that you actually signed with Ring of Honor. Uh, how did it come about, and how excited were you to have that contract in hand and sign it and be officially part of the roster?
It was a dream come true. It's my dream. It's what I wanted to do. I wanted to wrestle in America at a high level, and it was weird. Like I remember I was having a conversation with a friend. It was when I was a free agent. I made this YouTube show called Free Agent to let everybody know that I was a free agent. Because around the time there was a bit of confusion. I actually got told from a few people high up in the business in different companies. They were like, people think you're under contract to X, Y, and Z. And I was like, no, why would they think that? And it's like, because, I won't get into it. But my point is, at that time, people thought I was tied up. So I was like, I got to make this YouTube show to let people know I'm a free agent. So I made this show called Free Agent. And I was talking to my friend, and I said, and he says, where do you want to go? What's the dream? I was like, I want to go to Ring of Honor. And he was like, well, what are you doing to make that happen? And I was like, that's a fair point. So I made this show. I kind of got in touch with people that I knew at Ring of Honor, and I was like, this is what's happening. This is where I'm at. I'd had interest from a few different places, and I says, look, I'm at a point where I'm, it's being signed to a major organization is just, that's what I need to do in my career right now. I want to come to Ring of Honor. That's what I want to do. If you want to have a chat about it, that'd be awesome. And that's what we did. We talked, and we got a deal done in 5 minutes, because they wanted me. I wanted to go there, and it was just boom. It was easy. It was done. They got me my visa instantly, which I never thought that was going to happen. It was so fast. They took care of everything, so professional, and got my contract sent over, happily signed it, and it's just. I was living the dream up until this whole COVID situation, But all things considered, it's I couldn't ask for a better employer right now.
Yeah, and one of the things you brought up earlier were, before actually signing a contract with them, you had wrestled Slice Young, and even then you answered the challenge by Shane Taylor for the television championship there. Um, Before COVID hit, you were teaming with Dalton Castle, and you've teamed with him. You've even been on the others. He's even been on the other side of the ring against you. How did the team form? And when everything goes back, will you continue to run as a tag team, or will you do like a tag team mix of singles, or want to go into the realm of just a singles competitor?
With regards to the team and whatnot, here's the thing: with me coming in, Dalton was very recently a world champion just before I came in. So for me to be paired up with him, that's a big deal, because he just had the title. So
Yeah.
to me, and I think the thought process is, two charismatic guys, two amateur wrestlers. There's a lot of similarities. We have a very different style in comedy, and what I
Yep.
feel is our styles mesh quite well together. So he'll say things that'll just catch me off guard a little bit,
Yeah.
in a good, like, jokes I wasn't expecting or something like that. So a lot of the laughter you see in our promos and stuff is totally, like, it's legit. So it's a fun thing to be a part of. I absolutely want to continue that when I get back. Like, yeah, there's loads of stuff I want to do as a singles competitor, but you got to go where the wind's taking you. And right now, it's taking us to tag team gold. And this is the thing. We were just about to face the Briscoes in Vegas, and I just in my heart, I was like, this is going to be the breakout match. This is going to be the one where they're like, well, they can go as a tag team. So I think and that's the thing. It was a shame because I feel we'd had some really good performances up until then, but I just felt that one was just going to tip us over the edge, and then COVID happened.
You had that match. It was with the Briscoes, and then there was another team. It was like a triple threat tag team match. When you hear the Briscoes, they're a mainstay tag team in Ring of Honor, and to get the W over them as a tag team, no matter who you are, says.
Well, that's the thing. We'd had the multi-man match where we had the Briscoes were in it, and I believe we got the win there, which you're right,
yes.
Was a huge. We were set to face the Briscoes, just us versus the Briscoes in Vegas. That's the match that was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
Before and all that. So that to me, it was like, oh, we'd had the victory, and it was like, now we need to prove that we can do it. Just us.
Yeah.
Just a straight.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Now, during this whole COVID thing, like I said, you've been doing the parody music videos on your YouTube channel, but a week ago, you went on Ring of Honor's YouTube channel and kind of did something you don't see a lot of wrestlers do, which was showing off your moveset.
Yeah.
And you had the practice dummy and everything. I gotta ask, when it comes to the fall away slam that you do, because I've seen you do it 3 different ways. With one person, you do the normal, just throw them over. The big impressive part is when you hold 2 people and you do it. But I've seen you do it with average size guys with 2 people, and I've seen you do it with monstrous men. But you have a third way that you do it too, which is its own little twist to say, like when you slam them over, you kind of twist and rotate your body with them a little bit, kind of almost like a power slam, but not like a power slam because it surely falls the fall away slam.
I was going to say, when I wrestled, it was in Vegas, or the first time I wrestled in Vegas, and Colt Cabana called it there. I never thought about it that way, but Colt Cabana said, that's a fall away slam, that's a fall away power slam. And I was like, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So I actually started doing it by accident. I did it a few times by accident, and it was more just, I think I just wanted to be precise with where I landed my opponent. So I found that I would just turn around in midair. And then I realized that if I actually held onto the leg, I could almost like slam them in the same way. Like almost it ends up in like an upside down rock bottom almost, It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
And then I realized like this is pretty cool. No one's done this before to my knowledge. And I'm like, yeah, that's my move.
Yeah. I've watched highlight videos, and one of the most impressive ones that I saw involved the twist, and it was against Shane Taylor going for the TV title there. And I saw that, and man, I mean, you got to be a strong guy just to hold Shane. Let's be honest, especially because he jumped at you like he was doing a crossbody, and you just no hesitation, no move, didn't like take a step back or anything. Like you just stood there and held him, and I'm like. And then you did the twist and threw him over, and I've never seen I've seen big men thrown, but I've never seen big men thrown like that, in a move like that. So we know how with the twist came. Now with 2 people, how did you decide you were just going to start doing that? Like, was that
I remember, so I was in another company, and say where or who, but I was in another company, and the champ came up to me and said, maybe you shouldn't do the double fall, not Ring of Honor, but it said maybe you shouldn't do the double fall away because it's kind of like you're not the strong guy here and da da da. And the moment you get another roster member you telling you not to do something for that reason, that's probably a good sign that it's going to get over. So I was kind of, you know what, I'm going to, at that point I was like, maybe onto something here. And I was like, well, why can't I be the strong guy here? And it's like, the argument is that I don't look like the strong guy or whatever, but it's like, but if I can do that, then why shouldn't, you know? Because that's what I do. So I'm going to do that. And then I realized, like, for a long time, and I think this is why I maybe didn't, get over in Ring of Honor immediately on those first tours, is because I was trying to be, and even when I first came in, I was trying to do the Ring of Honor style, if you will. But again, it was Finn Balor that taught me this in 2014. He says, don't try, if you get booked somewhere, don't go there and try and do what they do, because they've got 100 people that do it the way they do it. Try and do it your way. That's why you're being brought in. So give them what they're paying for. So I was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So then I decided, like, am I really the guy to be doing, enziguris and, like top rope moves and stuff like that? Or am I the guy am I the strong Scottish guy? And then I realized it was, I believe I was backstage at Ring of Honor. And the moment it just fully clicked was, I was chatting I'm good friends with Caprice Coleman. And his son said to me, he was like, oh, you're the guy that lifts two people. And I thought, something as simple as that, it's like, that's what kids and teenagers talk about, is like something as simple as that. And it's like, wrestling doesn't need to be complicated. So now when I go to Ring of Honor, I'm thinking, right, when I get in here, I've got to show that I'm the strong guy that sings. So now if I'm in a multi-man match, instead of thinking, I'm strategizing how I'm going to win the match, I'm going to do 100 different moves or whatever. Instead, I'm going to do less is more, and I'm going to focus on, I'm going to inflict most damage by doing these power moves that people know me for, and I'll become the strong Scottish singing guy,
Yeah. One thing
strong Scottish singing guy.
It's got a ring to it. One thing I noticed, you're well diverse in wrestling. You've been able to technical wrestle. You've been able to do the enziguris in the almost cruiserweight like style wrestling. You've got the power behind you. You can do the comedy. How is it, at first when you started wrestling, did a show, and you weren't diverse at that time, but you had to wrestle someone with the comedy style, or like Grado, he's hilarious in the ring, or you had to, a technical guy like Kurt Angle. How did you adapt at those times?
My advice to new wrestlers is, if you don't yet have a wrestling style, just wrestle that other person's match. So if you're going to wrestle Grado, you're going to wrestle his match. You know what I mean? There's going to be, comedy bits, and there's going to be X, Y, and Z. If you wrestle, it, like, I can't think off the top of my head, but like if you were to wrestle, let me think, like, Zack Sabre Jr. or something like that, do his style of match. If you're going to wrestle a Kurt Angle, do his style of match. Whoever it is, my advice is do their style. So then you get a taste for everything. And it was only when I started letting go of, because it was like an insecurity thing. I was like, oh, well, I need to do this move, and because that's the impressive thing I do or whatever. Whereas, like, I think the first really good match I had in Ring of Honor, and when they gave me, I was lucky enough to have a whole TV episode where I got to pick my favorite matches and stuff. It was a couple of weeks ago. And one of the matches I put on there was my match with Jonathan Gresham before I got signed. And I think that's the match that got me the job. And I thought, you know what? To hell with it. He's one of the best in the world. I'm going to wrestle his style. I'm not going to try and force anything. I'm going to try and play his game. And then that turned out to be one of the best educational matches that I've ever had. It advanced me so much in one match, because I just went, to hell with it. He's a specialist. Whenever you wrestle a specialist, until you're, a big name or whatever, or you're drawing money and you're bringing people to the shows, wrestle their style. So then you start to learn what you maybe want your style to be. It's only now, 7 years in, that I'm starting to go, maybe I should be the strong Scottish singing guy, but that's only when I'm different things. So, and again, I need to double down on it, literally, by slamming two people at the same time.
Okay. So, Joe, where can fans find you on social media? I know you're on YouTube, Joe Hendry. Where can fans follow you on Twitter, a Facebook page?
So they can get me at Joe Hendry on Instagram, at Joe Hendry on Twitter. at Joe Hendry 1 on TikTok because someone beat me to it. But the main thing I would ask, if you want to support what I'm doing, is go to the ROH Pro Shop and buy my t-shirt, because Ring of Honor are supporting me right now, and that's something I can do. If you support the way Ring of Honor are treating the roster, please go to the ROH shop and grab a t-shirt. And here's another thing. For every person that buys a t-shirt, every person, I will be making a short music video thank you for everyone that buys a t-shirt. All you have to do is buy the t-shirt, post a picture on social media with you wearing it, and tag me. And I will upload a music video thank you.
Oh, wow. So fans, there you go. Buy a t-shirt off ringofhonor.com and you can get a personal music video thank you from Joe Hendry. That is really cool, because now that I know that, as soon as we hang up, I am going and buying a t-shirt. Because that is
music video. So there you go.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong with that. That's really cool. Joe, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to speak with me today. It was really awesome. I hope you enjoyed the time on the show. Hopefully I can talk to Mark, get you to come back. And again, I want to thank Mark from Ring of Honor for allowing this interview to happen. Thanks, Ring of Honor. And fans, remember, spoiler free is the way to be. We're out.
Say his name and he appears. I believe in Joe Hendry. I believe in Joe Hendry. Cause they love him in London and Paris and Tokyo, America, Scotland and Canada and Mexico.